Hello and welcome to Let's Talk. I am Dr. Kemi Akiode Adebayo, known as Dr. Mama K. And in today's program, we'll be talking about grief, the loss of a loving husband. So this is a very sensitive topic, and I know we've got our guest today, Tola Thomas, who sadly lost her husband some years back. We're so sorry for your loss again, my dear
Thank
sister.
you.
And we appreciate you giving the time, to come and just share with us some of your journey, so far and what you're doing. And hopefully, we're hoping you sharing your story will help anyone going through such an experience. So let me start first, by asking you, just take us through the experience of losing Lami Thomas, your husband. Take us through what happened, whatever you feel like sharing. Because I know even though it's so many years back, but I'm sure it's still very fresh. So if you could take us through that journey.
Okay, so this had happened February 2021. Um, I recall that the day before, he had had some kind of, I thought he had a cold. Overnight, he was sleeping and I could hear that his sleep was being interrupted. Like there'll be a break in the sleep, like he was snoring and then it would stop and that. And I kept waking him up. Are you okay? And he said he was fine. Then in the morning, it was the dead of winter. He doesn't like
Mm.
cold at all. So he had opened the windows and I walked into the room and it was so cold. And I'm like, why would you open the windows? He said, because there's no air. I said, I think something's going on. You might want to check this. Let's go to the ER. I say ER because, at that time there was COVID. So there was no going out. Well, not that you couldn't go out, but to where? The doctor's offices were shut down. So the only place to go was the emergency room. So we did go to the emergency room and we got there and it was a lot of, oh my God, the oxygen level is beyond normal, blah, 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 blah. And the idea was for them to, then bring the oxygen level back up. Anyway, the whole thing happened so fast in terms of we're trying to do this, we're putting the oxygen, and then you see your loved one suddenly begin to gasp for air. And then the next thing they're telling you, code blue is going into cardiac arrest. And I'm like, what are you talking about? We're all standing here. What's happening? Remember, I was there with my kids. So we were like, what is really going on? And before we knew it, believe me, the same speed at which the whole thing happened was when the whole thing ended. And I just saw the
Hmm.
matching flat line. Um, it's still surreal to me, the most painful experience of my life. I don't understand it. I never will, but it's God's will. That's all I can say. And that was it. And that was the end of my wonderful husband of 33 years who had been amazing with a capital AMAZING.
Tell us a little bit about Lami. Tell us a little bit about her.
Yeah,
What
we had
kind of a
gotten this. I had met him as soon as I finished my NYSC. I was serving in Niger State. He had seen my picture with my friend, my very good friend Shola, and he had told my friend that, oh my God, I want to meet this lady. So she had advised him, don't let her know you saw her picture through me. She's not going to let you in, that kind of stuff. So I finally met him and I decided I wasn't going to go out with him simply because he was based in the US. And I know how these US boys would come to Nigeria and have a good time and go right back and forget about you. So I wasn't going to be a snack. So I said, so um, eventually he told me he was back for real in Nigeria. He wasn't going back to the US. And he had come back home to settle down. That still didn't wave me. I wasn't sure I wanted to believe him. So After like weeks of trying to get me to even go on a date, he got frustrated and said, you know what? I'm just going to leave you alone. We can just be friends. And I said, fine by me. So he left. I remember that day, there were no cell phones. And a friend of mine was in our house and she knew how much I loved this guy. And see, she looked at me and said, did you just let that guy walk away from you? And I said, well, I have to play hard to get. She said, nope, you just lost him. So I said, what am I going to do? She said, I don't know what you're going to do. I started crying. She said, what? Well, you're not just posing for the guy and all that. So anyway, so I felt like that was the end of that. I'd lost him. There was no way to reach him. So, but I don't know if it's fortunately or unfortunately, my dad had a stroke. And he had been speaking to that, my friend, the original friend with the picture, Shola. And he
Okay.
said, she told him, like, oh, your sweetheart's father is in the hospital. She is devastated. This is that. And he just drove straight to my house to come
Mm.
see me and just to check on me. And the way I hugged him that day gave, gave away the whole thing. He then knew that, oh my God, so she likes me. And she's just been pretending, you know? So anyway, we ended up he ended up being the one that would take me to the hospital in Ijebu to see my dad every day. He would come to my house, pick
Wow.
me up, take me to Ijebu, and then see my dad. So he met my dad, but he didn't meet my dad because my dad,
Mm.
you know, he never came out of that
Out of
stroke.
it.
Yes. And so I lost my dad. And then that was my first experience with grief. Now, it was him that helped me go through my grief. Anybody that knew me knew how close I was to my dad. So it was it was an experience I could not even explain. And
Mm.
was there with me all through. And
Mm.
eventually I got better. And then we started dating after the fact. And a year after, he asked me to marry him. I was confused, like, really? Uh, anyway, we
But
all
you didn't play the game of no, no, no again. I had
no,
to
not
get
anymore.
by
Now
this
I
time you
knew.
were already like
And then so, and that was it. We ended up getting married. And Lami was the best thing that ever happened to my life. I say it every time. He was
mm.
just amazing. He was a very good person. Always very
So
private, very quiet, but my person, he got me. Yes.
I saw all that. So tell us how your life, has changed since his passing, and
Mm.
what has been the most challenging aspect? Because I know around that time as well was when your first daughter was about getting married, and
Yes.
and then your son as well was still very, very young, for that age. How did your life change, and how did you all navigate that season, for your life?
Well, we were planning, my daughter was getting married, and so we were planning to go to Lagos for the initial introduction of the two families. He was supposed to travel in a few days. He died like 4 days before his trip. So I was supposed to go like in 2 weeks after he got to Lagos. So all that was going on. So right after he died, life ended. I don't even know how I survived it because we were very, 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 very super duper close. So his family were more concerned about, oh, we feel like she's going to join him in a few days. They were
Hmm.
worried about me doing something to myself. My kids were worried about me. They were worried about losing their dad, but they were looking at me sideways like, is she going to make it? For
Hmm.
me, I think I went into a trance. I was just sitting down there staring. I could not believe what was happening. I didn't understand it. I didn't know what to do. At that time, if you ask me, I became the child to my first daughter. I could not think properly. So she had to make decisions. That's what I meant. Um, she was 27. So she had to literally hold me by my hands. I would
Hmm.
hold on to her cloth. I could not sleep. I, I would just stay there numb. And then the reality hit me. We had to plan a funeral. Nobody tells you about these things. So when you lose somebody, you think that's the end of that story. That's the beginning of a new chapter. So we had to plan a funeral. I could not handle anything. I could not even make suggestions or say a word. I lost my voice in terms of I could not speak. The first 3 days, I didn't say a word to anybody. I was just staring into space. I did not eat. I had to literally be forced to drink water. I don't know why that was just what I experienced. And so luckily with her fiancé, they were able to both go through the process, and she would go and come back and tell me, Mom, this is what we did today. This is what we're doing. Is that fine? I'll just nod my head because I didn't know what else to do. But the only thing I made sure I was part of was, what would you like Dad to wear? And that was the first time I got up and there was this beautiful suit he just bought, and we went there together. We bought it together. So I went and brought it out and I said, I want him to wear this. That was the only time I said a word. Then you go through the whole process of the funeral, which is a lot of money. And if you're not prepared, it could catch you off guard. As Africans, I don't think we're at the level where we cremate our loved ones. It was never a thought that I could process, which definitely would have been a fraction of the cost, but I was not going to consider that. So we went through the whole funeral. I think it was Zoomed, and because a lot of people watched it, and I never saw anything. I don't remember what happened. I know we went somewhere, I saw him, and then the next thing he was being buried, and that's it. That's all I remember till this day. I never watched the video. I think I blanked out that part of my life, and I have no recollection of that day. So then the journey starts. Because when you lose your loved one, you go to the funeral, people say, oh, it's closure, and then you can begin to heal. No, you begin another level of grief. So I'm in the house, and all I can do is I'm on the bed that we had shared, and I'm looking at his pillow. I'm looking everywhere, and I feel like I can sense him there, but he's not there. I can smell him all over the house. When I take a nap, I feel like I hear him walking towards me, like footsteps. So I believe I almost ran mad at that point. My kids were very worried. So they asked me, Mom, can you still stay here? I said, no, I cannot stay in this house anymore. I need to move. I cannot. If you know the dynamics of America, it's not that easy to jump up and say you're leaving your house. There's a process. So even if you wanted to rent an apartment, there's still a process. So, but where I know that when you have God, you have everything you need. In spite of the pain and the distress, the hand of God was showing in my life. So I told my daughter, we're going to go rent a place first. And she looks at me and says, Mom, you know that's impossible. And I said, we're going to find it. Checked online, found 2 places. And the first place, as soon as we drove there, I said, I'm not coming out. I don't want that. And then we got to the second place and I said, this is where we're going to stay. At this point, we had not even spoken to the people and all that. So we did meet with the owner, who told us that the realtor was out sick. And that's why he had to meet with us personally. And he just decided that, I have a feeling I should help you. So I'm just going to cut through all the red tape and let you take this property. And just so you know, you can own it if you do end up wanting it. This is how we just moved in less than 10 days after my husband's death. We had moved from our old house and we began a new journey. It was a lot. It was a lot.
So for you, I'm just trying to even picture it, and I know, there's no way I can understand it. And like what you said as well, that time being COVID time, then our culture as well, in terms of the Yoruba culture,
Yes.
where you're from, whereby you're not supposed to go out or things like that. The widow, that journey of widowhood, what it is, and having to deal with extended family. Like you said, your daughter, your first child, was the one that held your hand and took total control,
Yes.
at that time. And where you are, at the moment, I know, like you said, it's a journey. Were you at any point, even though yes, you're saying God, was with you, what did you go through where you blamed God, where you were angry with God, where you were, because I know people go through different emotions. Could you have done, better? Did you blame the hospital? Could you have been, any form of regret? I don't know. What was
Yeah.
going on, if you can remember any at that time, any emotions you were feeling?
The emotion was I felt abandoned. I
Hmm,
felt like I'd served God all my life.
hmm,
And the one thing that he could have done for me was not take this man. He wasn't broken. Why want to fix it? Um, I believe that everything happens for a purpose. But this right here, I did not know the purpose of it. It didn't make any sense to me. Um,
hmm,
so I went through the process of I refused to pray. I know
hmm,
what the Bible tells me is to pray, praise God, thank Him in every situation. Nope, this situation, I was not going to pray or thank Him. Yeah, you could take me to if you want, was my attitude. I was mad in terms of I was angry. I was upset because I look at my kids and the pain they were going through, the crying, the constant unbelief. They would come to me and say, Mom, you told us to always pray. Why didn't he listen to our prayers? I had no answers for them. I
hmm.
had nothing I could offer anyone at that point in time. So we moved. And then for the first 2 weeks, I wasn't saying anything to God still. I wasn't praying. I don't believe anything. I was just mad, permanently just irritated, and just, I had a lot of people supporting me, phone calls and all that, which was amazing because that was the only chance I had at breaking a smile. When somebody I hadn't spoken to, like most of my Shagamat sisters, some of them I hadn't spoken to them in 30 years. They just called me and I was like, oh my God. And we would laugh. And then I'll finish the call and go right back into my angry mode, depressed mode, and all that. So I remember one particular Saturday morning, trying to, unpack because we moved and I did definitely, I wasn't unpacked. All my boxes were just stacked in my room. And so this morning I decided to unpack and I turned on Spotify. I said, play Nigerian music. And the music that came on was Tope Alabi,
Okay. The
um,
musician you're
Leave That
talking to.
Tomorrow.
Hmm.
Believe it or not, I have never heard of this lady before in my life. I've
Hmm.
never heard the song, nor the lyrics, but it started playing on my speaker, and I heard, I'm trying to unbox and I'm listening, and it started talking about when I sat down and thought about all the good things God had done for my life.
Hmm.
I realized that God is awesome. I was fighting a battle inside of me and saying, yeah, right, he's not. I was mad, but I kept struggling, and the song I later found out was I had put it on rewind, replay.
Quickly.
So because it kept playing the same song, and finally I just buckled up and I screamed. And for the first
Hmm.
time, I cried from the depth of my stomach. I broke into pieces. I cried and cried and cried. And I started singing the song. And I think that was the day I got my first liberation um,
Hmm.
from the place where I was stuck at. I was stuck in a place of pain and grief. I did not want to go through the process. I just wanted to be mad and just stay on that point. And I cried. But prior to that day, I remember now, a few days before that, one day all my kids were not home. My son had gone back to school, and my daughter was not home, and then the three girls were not home. And I got in my car, and I just wanted to drive off the cliff. I never shared this with anybody before. I started driving and driving. I started driving very fast, and I wanted to get to the point where I could just end this pain.
Mm.
And just as I don't know where I got to on the highway, my first daughter called me. She was at work. I forgot she's a nurse. So she said, Mom, where are you? I said, Oh, I'm home. She said, Mom, I have your location. What are you doing in Long Island? Like, this was like a 40-minute drive away from my house. And this is 12 midnight, 12:01 or something. So I said, Oh, I just, she said, I'm worried. I'm going to get off the clock now. I'm coming home. I said, No, I'm fine. And then she said, No, I'm coming home. She hung up. The next thing, the second one called, Mom, where are you? I said, Why are you all asking me I'm home? She said, Okay, I'm almost driving to the corner of the house. I'm going to be there in a few minutes. Then the third one called. Meanwhile, after the first one called, I made a U-turn and started driving back home. I wanted to get home before them because I didn't want them to see me as a crazy mother who was about to do something. I drove home, pulled up in the driveway, ran into the house, and I heard my daughter pulling up to the first one. I jumped on the bed and pulled on the covers and pretended I was sleeping. She walked in and said, Mom, I know you're not sleeping. Open your eyes. So she was just staring at me and said, I love you, Mom. I know you're going through a lot, but please, please, Mom. She never said, I have a feeling you're about to do something crazy. She, and then one by one, they all arrived back at home. And that was the day they decided they were never going to leave me by myself. I didn't know that. But I then
Mm.
suddenly realized I was never alone again. It was always
Mm.
somebody was always home. Apparently, they made a schedule in between themselves and decided we're going to keep an eye on this woman before she jumps off the cliff. So then the weekend was when I listened to the music, and I think that was when I got my liberation. Something happened that day, and I began to cry and I prayed to God for the first time since my husband died. I prayed and prayed and prayed. And I believe that's the beginning. That was the beginning of my healing process, so to speak.
Wow.
So
Wow. Wow. Um, hmm, I don't even know how to ask.
go ahead.
Um,
Nothing is off the books because I believe my story would help somebody else
yeah,
understand
because
that whatever they're going through is not weird.
obviously that was suicidal thought. That was almost being suicidal. So you
Yes,
must have gone through depression,
of
serious
course.
depression at that time.
Yes.
I know of cases, I remember my mom when she lost her brother, tragically, in the house. And I know as well one of you know, uh, I think when I share this, sometimes my siblings always say, no, it's a story, but I always go, no. It's not necessarily a story alone, but all of our story, because that would be part of Lolade's story, part of, your children's story, where it was when I grew older, because we decided I couldn't live in the house, just like what you shared. I couldn't stay in the house, so they took us to our cousin's house who were across the bridge. We had a bridge, canal then. And I remember she wasn't a tomboy. It was until I grew older that my dad now shared. I think it was even at the older that he now shared the fact that she found herself on the streets. They were looking for her. And the
Mm,
next thing they found her in Babbage in Lagos, and we stay in Aguda Ijesha. So how she got to Babbage till
still
today,
unknown.
because yeah. So when you were sharing that, I'm just thinking as well in my head, that was the loss of a child. And I know it's different, as well, but grief is grief.
Yes.
So for you as well to have gone through that period, somebody who was your soulmate, who you were very close, and how it happened, like you said, it happened very quickly.
Yes, it
And
wasn't like a sick person that you'd been expecting to
no,
die.
no,
Yes,
yeah.
the
So the
sudden death.
shock, everything else, but thank God for your children, because God
Mhm.
knows as well what could have happened if they didn't follow your, journey. So how important is it for that family support, Because I know some family some people when they go through grief, they inject them so that they can sleep for days and
Right,
so on. But I think you got, medical in, that injection or whatever. How important is it to have family around you? Because if they didn't phone at that time, because that was you being suicidal, even though you were saying going mad, but that was a suicidal attempt, basically.
right. I later found out that it's some kind of PTSD. It's like you
Yeah,
went through a sudden,
yeah,
shocking,
yeah.
life-altering situation, and then you just want it to end. The pain was not stopping. It was grinding. It was
Mm,
so bad that once I look out in the window and it's 6 o'clock in the evening, my heart starts keeping on pounding because now it's going to be nighttime. Everybody around me is going to be asleep, and I know I'm going to be wide awake, and all I would have were my pain and my thoughts. And so I was always nervous. Let's even talk about that, the fact that the first 3 months, I never slept in my room. I was
mm,
always holding my daughter's blanket and holding her and sleeping on her bed. I could not sleep by myself. I was just weak. I don't even know what I was going through, but it wasn't an experience that I would ever want to ever experience in my life again. So, family structure, in as much as I believe that it's nice to have people around you, but I feel like they delay the grief process. They
mm.
delay the reality. And that's
Right.
why I said there's a reason why this happened towards COVID, where people couldn't move around or have people live with me. Because what they do is they delay the grief. They come
Mm,
over, they support you,
mm,
they block all the
mm,
feelings of, so they kind of create a fake reality for you. At the end of the day, they all still gonna leave. And so when they leave, then you're still gonna have to go through the process of grieving the loss alone. Important thing to know is at the end of the day, you're gonna do all of this on your own. And if you do not do the work, you will not get the results. I try
mm.
to shroud it, avoid it, prevent it. You have to face it. So for me, I didn't have a choice. I didn't have people around me to cover the effects. I had my kids, but they were also grieving.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
most times I had to pretend I was fine. When I hear this person is crying in a room, I'll go over there, give them a hug, support people when you need support yourself, and try to. They ask me questions I have no answers for. Why? He was such a good daddy. He never did this. He never did that. Why? Why didn't God take the bad people? I don't have any
Mm,
explanation. And most times I would say, you know, can you explain why the sun comes out in the morning and leaves in the evening?
mhm,
If you cannot explain that, that explains why I cannot tell you why God took your dad. And so all of that was just the process where I had phone calls. Like I said, a lot of girlfriends were always on the phone. I had family members always on the phone, but it did not change the fact that I had to do the work on my own. I had to confront this pain, confront grief, and live with
mm,
it. I mean, my job gave me almost 2 months of work. But by the time I was in my fifth week, I realized that was doing me more disservice because in the morning, my kids have to go to work. So when they leave, I'm by myself alone with my
mm,
thoughts. And then I start
mm,
thinking the most devious things, getting mad all over again. So I did call my job and said, I'll be returning in 6 weeks instead of 8 weeks. Reason being that when I get to work, I get distracted. I have to listen to other people's problems. So I began to understand that, well, you are going through this major loss, but look at what just happened to this one. Look at what is happening with this one's life. And then I have to
Right.
solve their problems, help them get
Right.
help. And I began to work on myself through helping other people. And gradually, I understood the need for support. I've never been somebody that believed in getting therapy session. It's not a Nigerian thing, right? We don't do therapy, but I kept reminding myself in my professional field, I knew that I needed therapy.
Mm.
I needed somebody I could talk to without any judgments. My friends will listen to me, but how much can I really tell them? And how can they help me? They'll just empathize with me, but they don't know what I'm dealing with. I needed a professional who could help me through the process. And eventually, I did see a therapist. And the sessions helped me confront the grief, helped me understand why I really couldn't do anything about it. So it's a choice to ruin your life, whatever is left of it, or and keep the beautiful memories, or do something about it. Let it go. If you don't let him go, if you stay in this point, your loved one is not going to move on because they're worried that you're going to do something to yourself too. So that's just some kind of something I came up with. So I had to then take all the help I could get, which was professional help, talk to some friends, then I found out that a lot of my friends were widowed that I didn't know. And some I knew, but I didn't know what they went through.
Mm. Mhm.
For the
Mm.
first time, I realized we always empathize with people without really, really having an understanding of what they're
Mm.
doing. So when one of our Shagam sisters had told me they lost their husband when their kids were under the age of 10,
Mm.
I then realized, oh, your youngest is 18. Aren't you blessed? At least
Mm.
that's
Mm.
something
Mm.
to be thankful to God for. He didn't die when your kids were like ages 9, 7, 6, and 1 or something. So I thank God I began to realize that, listen, you got to let it go. So family is very valuable if they are going to be positively supportive, but most times they're not.
Mm.
They just want to come there and turn on the Nigerian movie. And I know this because I spoke to other people that had family members come allegedly support them, but they didn't end up helping them in any way. And they
In
said
fact, you
eventually,
probably spend more time looking after them,
exactly. And
trying
when they
to make sure
finally
they're
left,
okay.
when they left, they now had to start grieving all over
Mm,
again.
properly.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Wow. You know what? We'll stop for a quick break and we'll be right back. Wow, wow, wow. Thank you for opening yourself. We're still on Let's Talk and we're talking about grief. And Tola Thomas is sharing, her journey of the loss of her loving husband, Lami Thomas. There was a lot you shared there, and I don't want to recap um, because I know time, as well. I want to spend more time. But what I want to now ask in this segment now is I know one of the ways that you want to hold on or keep Lami's memory for you, and not just that, for others as well to learn from it, has been this documentary, Forever Altered, that you did. Can you just share us through that journey, of doing the documentary? Because that must have been tough, because you
Yes.
shared on earlier on about the fact that, family members even not staying with you and going again means you're revisiting the grief. So even this conversation, although I know, like you said, with time, it probably gets better. you sharing again, like that incident, of you driving and just, makes you just takes you back again, to
Right.
that because you can't stop that thought, coming through. So share with us that journey, why you decided to, instead of writing a book, because I know most of the time, most people put it in writing, and you being the daughter of a renowned
Right.
uh, legend author in Nigeria, Kola Onodipe, one would think, okay, yeah, it's for you to first, put down, but you decided on doing the video first, the documentary, and I know you've won so many awards, but share that journey, with us and what you're hoping as well to gain out of this and how that journey has been.
Right. So basically, the bedrock of me writing, choosing the documentary as against writing a book had to do with the new dispensation we found ourselves, the COVID era. I needed to speak as fast as possible to people directly. I needed them not to get distracted from what I was trying to share. Okay, so I figured there's multiple movie festivals, there's multiple platforms where you can present this documentary and people can share and, hear directly from me, not just read my words, but see me, feel and empathize with a real human being sharing their experience. So I chose the documentary because I wanted it to be a fast action kind of thing. I, for one, am guilty of not reading like I used to read. I don't read books like I used to. I grew up reading books like crazy. So to see now that I'd rather watch a documentary than sit down and read the whole book. So that was one reason. So when I feel like the pain I was going through was so intense that I didn't want to write it. I could not find words to write what I was going through, but I could emit the emotions easily. So that was my reason for choosing to do the documentary as against writing a book. Um, okay. So the process of doing the documentary actually came up because every day I would look around and I could not find any resource to
Mm.
lean on how do you continue the journey without your partner, on how do you go through moments of being extremely lonely, even though you had people around you. That was just one major thing I could not understand. I didn't know it was possible for you to be so lonely when people were around you. Because at
Mm.
the end of the day, it's your spirit mind, it's your inner mind. What is it that makes you who you are that determines how you receive loneliness or how you feel lonely? So I began to look around. I could not find anything. I could Google it and say, how do you recover from a grief? And it'll start all these stories about things that are not real. Like, that's not what I'm feeling. That's not. And I feel like everybody has a special peculiarity to their story. But I thought, if somebody had given you heads up that, hey, you're having this beautiful marriage, please remember one day you may be gone. I feel like maybe that would have prepared me a little bit to say, oh, maybe I should be nice all the time. Maybe I should pray harder. I don't even know. I just felt like I didn't know. I didn't have anything in place. So I wanted to talk to people how to handle when people ask you questions that are very uncomfortable for you. The one thing I noticed were people calling me, I'm so sorry, I heard you lost your husband. How did he die? Now, that's not a question I want to hear at that point.
Mm.
I don't want to talk to you about what has just ruined me and I'm going through pain. No, I don't. So I felt like both sides, the people asking and the people receiving, should both know that it's normal for people to ask you, how did he die? It's not a strange thing where you're going to jump the person and curse them out. No. Also, they have to know that it's very, very unnecessary and painful
Mm.
for the person you are asking because they don't know. There's nowhere that they've ever heard that by asking you that, they've hurt you even more. So I began to think, okay, let me just write down these things. Let me
Right.
speak it. Let people know when you call somebody who just lost a loved one, call to make them feel better. Don't leave them in more pain.
Mm.
Inadvertently, you're doing that by asking for details. So a couple of people I had snapped really hard. Like, how dare you ask me what happened to him? You just heard he died, and you're asking me how did he die? Is it because you want to resurrect him or what? Please get off my phone. And then you hang up. Not
Mm.
because you hate that person, but you're going through pain. And then there's just a possibility that you could snap at people because you just don't want them to bother you. Then I also use that documentary to tell us, the people on the other end, just because somebody asks you a question, you don't have to answer, even though you're in pain. You could end the call. You're allowed
Yeah.
to just click, end that call, and walk away. Or you could shut down your phone altogether and don't talk to nobody. So I had to learn to screen my calls. Who is this person calling me and why are they calling me? How are they going to benefit me? How is it going to make me feel better? I don't want to talk to this one because I know they want to talk about, ah, ẹ ó yá mi ní owó kan gbà kan, ó ṣe kíní kan. I
Mm.
don't want to hear your stories. Leave me alone. I'm in pain. You get it? So
Yeah.
for a long time, I cut off all my husband's friends. They didn't do anything to me. I don't want to
Mm.
talk to them because they're a constant source of pain for me. When you talk to me, I'm remembering that he is no longer one of you. And that hurts me to the gut. So I may have been having a pleasant day, and then one of his friends calls me, and then they're going to make me miserable. So why don't you just not speak to them? So I sat there and blocked everyone. I'm sorry. I know you're going to find out now that's what happened, but you know, that's what I had
But
to
you,
do.
yeah, you had
I
to.
had to do
Yeah.
that. I had to block all his friends. Like I totally
Mm.
blocked all of them. A couple
Mm.
of them would then email me or call somebody else that knows how to reach me,
Mm-hmm.
trying so hard. So I'll give you an example. He died 4 years and some change ago. And this, the weekend before this, I was in London and I went to a party for my cousin that was celebrating her 60th. For some strange reason, I ran into over 12 of his friends in London.
At the
Like,
party in
yeah,
London generally. Okay.
yeah, no, at the
Mm-hmm.
party. And they
Mm.
all were like, oh my God, Tola, what happened to
Mm.
you? We tried to reach you. We tried to this. I was just smiling. I didn't tell them that,
Mm.
well, this is what happened. I said I was dealing with a lot. Yeah, we wanted to support you. We wanted to be there for you, but there was just no way. We just couldn't reach you. And I just smiled and said, I'm fine. Thank you. We're doing good. The kids are fine. And that's it. But at that point in time, I could not handle it. So first thing I learned was how do I guard my space? How do I guard my emotions? How do I guide
Mm.
people I
Mm.
interact with? So through that
So that
documentary,
that was your coping mechanism as well. So everybody
exactly,
has their own coping mechanism at the end of the day.
exactly. So now when I talk to people who are going through grief, I know how to talk to them. I know
Mm.
not what not to ask. I know
Mm.
how not to hold them up for too long because they were just being polite receiving your call. They are in pain. So
Right.
when I use the documentary as a platform to express things like that, then I chose topics like how do you deal with the in-laws? But then I found out how delicate and messy that could easily turn out to be. I'm trying to speak to some people over there about what I went through. I'm not talking to them about what they did to me, but then they could take it as if I'm
Mm.
embarrassing them. I went
Mm.
on video and I decided to mess up the family. So when you watch the documentary, all I said was, don't expect too much from anybody because your heart will be
Right.
broken into pieces. In grief, don't expect people to be there for you to, whatever you thought, how valuable you thought you were to them, or you felt your husband was to them, you will be shocked at how people just shy away from grief. I personally then learned after the loss of Lami that I don't know how to go to funerals anymore. I don't ever
Mm.
want to be at a funeral. So when people die, I move backwards. I hide. Not because they were invaluable to me, I cannot handle it.
Feel it.
So once I realize my weakness, I just pray for them on my own, but I'm not coming to the show, to the parade. I won't be there. I just lost a very close friend.
Mm. Mm.
And
Mm.
a lot of people felt I should have been at her funeral. And I was looking, do they understand that I never want to remember her in that way? I want to remember her the way I saw her the last time, alive, bubbling. We were having fun, had a birthday. That's all I want to keep. So please understand that in the documentary, you would see things that you may not agree with me, but
Mm.
it is what I had to do to get my sanity
Mm.
back on
Mm.
course. So that's what, the whole, it goes from one topic to the other, and also areas that people never imagine. What about the legal aspect of a death?
I was just going to ask wheels, things like that. Yeah.
People have no
Like
idea. What about those that
where
have
you
no
going to be
will?
buried. Yeah.
If you never
Mm.
spoke to each other about these things, now what do you do?
Mm.
I still have situations where some people felt I should have flown my late husband's body back to Nigeria. And I thought, hell no.
Mm.
Reason,
Mm.
I want to visit him as often as I want.
Mm.
Most
Mm.
people know that I'm there twice every month or 3 times. If I just feel like I just drive there and I sit there, the kids
Mm.
go as often as they want because it's
Mm.
right here next to us. Why are we going to go bury our loved ones so far away and we never go back to check on them? The kids don't have the opportunity to see them. We all live here. Why would I do that? So again, those are things that, people have to check individual situations. Did your husband give you the power of attorney? Did he give you the power to be able to say to the family, this is what's going to happen?
Decision. Mm.
Decision making. Have you ever been in that role? Do you know how to manage funds? Do you know how to go? So many levels. And so in the documentary, I also teach men how to prepare their spouses for when they are not there. And then I want to teach women how to prepare their husbands for when they are no longer
Husband.
there. Because
Yeah.
anybody can
Because
go
that's a
anytime.
big one. Yeah. That one's a
Lamy
big
had
one.
this beautiful saying for years since we were together. He would tell me, you know, life and marriage is just like you're driving in a car. And he'll say, I'm the one driving, I picked you up on the way, and then you became my co-driver, right? Along the line, we pick our kids up, one after the other, and they're
Mm.
all sitting in the back seat. And we keep driving through this maze of life. Darling, one day I'm going to get to my stop and I have to get
Stop.
out of. That's what he would tell me. I get to my point and I get down. Guess who's
Mm.
going to drive? You. I
Mm.
would be so upset. I
Mm.
don't know why you must say things like this, but he used to say when we were
Mm.
still young, like in our
Mm.
early,
Mm.
early 30s, he would just make jokes like that and say that's the truth about life. And now I see that what he was saying is the truth about life. We have to learn to enable our nucleus family, make them able to stand on their feet if you're not there. Because if you think, oh yeah, my sisters are going to take charge and take care of my wife or my mother or my brothers, you are. you're rooting for a failure. So those are the things I also spoke about. Then I spoke about the probate. Do you know what your husband has? Do you know how many accounts he has?
Yeah.
Because the bank is not going to tell you.
Mm-mm.
If you don't go there and say, I'm here because of this account belonging to my late husband, account number, this, and this is what is in
Mm.
it, they are not going to help you. I can tell you that for a fact based on my experience in Nigeria. It was a lot. And things that I will find out after later and be like, what? I didn't know that, you know. And then he had a lot of properties. So he had tenants who thought this was the opportunity to skim their way out of paying their rent.
Mm. Mm. Mm-hmm.
What they did not know was that we were that close. So most of the time he had a conversation with anybody. If it was an important meeting, believe me, I was in the background on the second phone. You just didn't know. You tell me, be quiet. I want to talk to this person. Listen to this conversation.
Mm. Mm.
And so there was one tenant that tried to play a fast one on me. So I told him, you had the meeting at his hotel on this day. You were sitting at this point. You were wearing this color. He got shocked. I said, my husband told me. Do you want me to continue telling you? And he said, no, man,
Mm.
I think I made a mistake.
That's all.
I'll go and put the money in the account. He thought maybe a ghost had come to tell me, but I was there. I was actually, he was on video and he didn't know. And, so couples have to be straightforward with each other.
Mm.
They have to. If you don't want your money to go to your family instead of going to your wife and kids, you better do something about it. Or
Yeah.
your kids that were going to that beautiful, exclusive, expensive school will end up in a public school because the family is
Mm.
going to say, that's too much money. We're not going to
Mm.
pay, and they would make their own decision based on what they want and not on what you want. Same thing for the woman. You have a husband. You don't know, what if you die tomorrow? Who's in charge of your things? You put your mother as your next of kin? Good
Mm.
job. Are they going to do things the way you want them to do it? Be mindful of who you make your immediate next of kin. Be mindful and let the banks know this is my next of kin. So many aspects. If we go into that probate one,
I
you
know.
know,
I know.
you know how many times I flew into Lagos. I almost lost my mind trying to get everything done, this done. It was a lot. And then finally, you have to then also think about what happens with your kids.
Yeah.
How do they move on? Who helps them with the process? Remember, there's nobody for them. You're the only parent they have now. So you're going to deal with this new clinging behavior where they become
Mm.
possessive over you, over your decisions, over what you do. And you're going to be like, whoa, 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 what's going on? I'm the mother. Why you want to tell me what to do now? They'd be like, no, we just want you to be safe. We don't want you to. And then they gang up on you like that also. And you have to all come to an agreement. So I call my children the board of directors because when they start this drama about, yeah, we feel like this, I'll be like, oh, I'm sitting
Control
in a
now.
hot soup. The board of directors are having a meeting now about me, and they would laugh about it. But it is not something to take lightly. It is something to consider when you are alive, start planning that. You have to think about all the process, what happens in your absence. That much you can control. So
Yeah.
why don't you control what you can control?
Mm.
And the final one to that topic is my husband blindsided everybody by leaving a video direction on how he wanted his things to be done. Now that if nothing else swayed the family, that right there put everybody in their space. Because it starts with, if you're watching this video, that means I died. And this is what I want for my wife. This is what I
Mm.
want for my kids. And this is what I want for my family. Stay over there. Leave my family alone. Now he spoke. It's not a paper which you could say, oh,
It's
maybe she went and
mhm,
faked it.
mhm.
So maybe people are supposed to start thinking of those things also.
Wow. Wow. We could go on and on because, like you said, each aspect, of all these things that we don't talk about culturally, or because the society, doesn't want it, or especially even what happens, to those who have a partner, let's put it, it
Yes,
could be husband or wife, and they're not friends. They're not
right.
even friends.
That's even worse. That's
You
even
know.
worse. So,
So you
uh,
know you can't even get to you don't even know the password to get into your husband's phone in the first place.
exactly. You don't know his password. You don't
Or
know.
your wife's
You don't
phone.
even know where he has an account or where he doesn't.
Yeah. So it's a minefield, there in terms of, yeah, the loss of a partner. Okay,
Yes.
we'll be right back. Wow. Well, we could spend 3, 4 hours easily just trying to for you to share some of what you've had to navigate, and some of what you're hoping forever alter the documentary will be able to give people that perspective. And kudos to you for opening up. And we could go more, like before we finish that segment I was talking about, what if you're not even friends, but we don't even want to go there on this one because
No.
we could the whole season. So I think the message is, yeah, try as much as possible to be friends, with your husband or wife, at the end
Right.
of the day and wherever you are in the world. So, and kudos to you for all the awards that you've won.
Yes.
And I know there's plans to come to South Africa,
Yes.
Durban, South Africa
Yes.
have reached out, and I know even in Nigeria, there are people reaching out wanting to hear, and I'm sure other countries across Africa and even in the diaspora, So what are your plans? Let's now talk about the documentary now. What are your plans with it? Where else do you want to see it in the next
Okay.
year?
So basically, in the
So,
next year, what the plan was just the first year and a half, we're going to go to all these festivals, which gives us a platform to, first of all, showcase the arrival of a new um, movie maker, a new product, and just see, feel how people, perceive this. For me, I never watched Forever Altered when it was done. I could not watch it. I felt like it would be too emotional for me. So I waited
mm,
till we went to the Silicon Valley Movie Festival in San Jose, California. That was the first place where we premiered it. And I remember it was at that occasion, they were also honoring RMD and some other big shots that were in the movie industry. So when I walked
our
in and I
Nollywood
saw,
actors. Not everybody knows RMDO. We're catering
oh,
to.
okay, Nollywood actor, and all this big, we had Solomon Sise, we had different people from different parts of Africa. And we had a good time. And then came the day they were going to air my documentary. So I walked into the theater like everybody else and I sat down. They started. And within, I would say 5 to 10 minutes, people were in tears.
Mm,
First of all, I knew I was trying to speak to them. But what I did not know was that he was going to have such an impact on their emotional stability. And some of the people that sat next to me were holding my hands like, damn, you went through that? Oh my
mm,
God, you're such a strong lady. And I'm looking at them like, okay, it made me feel good that I was able to touch them. Because after the
mm,
documentary was aired, I got so many people just talking to me here and there, wanting to have some kind of partnership. They wanted to invite me to women's forum, to widows, this and that. But one thing I've always known in my life is never stay in an identity you do not want to claim.
mm,
So I said this to a couple of people. I don't know if they understood it, but what I'm saying is this: being widowed is just a chapter in the life of a Motolani Thomas. It is not my new identity. It is not my
mm.
reality. I'm not staying
Mm,
there. I'm not claiming the title. It has happened. I'm just going to walk into the next reality that God has for me. And so I try not to be the advocate for widows, be
mm.
that widow. No, I am not.
Right,
I am
right.
simply a Motolani. In my life, 33 years of my life was with this man. And if God ended it, he has his reason, I'll move to the next level. And that's where I left it. So the documentary will end up being on, YouTube and everywhere because again, I didn't want to monetize it. I'm not
Mm.
doing this to make money. I want to do it to teach and support and just have some kind of resource for many people. After doing that documentary, I've had to talk to multiple ladies that people had just called me and said, please, my friend lost her husband 3 years ago. She's not moving on. She's depressed. She's not taking care of herself. And they asked me, do you mind speaking to them for a few minutes? At the beginning, there's the resistance from the person, but the moment they realize you also went through it, then they look at me and say, how did you get out? I'm not out. I've just learned. I have just learned how to
Mm.
live with my situation and still enjoy life because it's a blessing that God has given me extra time. So why should I stop it by being in one point and just sit down and grieve? So we should have it on social media very soon, on YouTube. We just want to finish all the commitments we have for all these movie festivals. And as soon as we're done, I envisage that by October, I would notify you and you could also, I'll put it out
No, we're
there.
going to have a screen in Cape Town. We're
Okay,
going to have a screen. You're
that
talking
would be
about Dublin.
awesome.
We're going to have
Oh,
a screen. I already have a venue. So
oh
we're
wow,
going to
that
have
would be awesome. So that's a
Cape
good
Town.
thing. I would definitely want to do that, have a screening and just, I just want people to feel and know that these things are real. People don't talk about the other side on the inside. I went in there and began to talk about areas that people don't talk about. So that's it. I know a lot of people concern themselves so much about why a woman should remarry after widowhood. And they get so passionate about it, some families, some friends. And one thing I always say to people is do you. There's no law that says you cannot
Exactly.
remarry. There is no law that says you cannot be
Until they
single.
do us part.
So if
So
somebody dies after a promise you made that when they die, you are going to be on
mm,
your own, that you're not breaking any rules. So
no
it's all your own prerogative. It's your
choice.
decision. So when friends argue, oh, you should be married by now, I'll be like, again, my choice, my decision. If it happens, if I want you to know,
Exactly.
I'll let you know.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I have the right to stay this way. What if I chose I
Mm,
don't want to be anybody's wife? Because that was
mm,
another area that I discussed. The fear of being with another man, and what if he dies? Then I'll go through this
mm,
again. That
mm,
could also be a
mm,
PTSD symptom.
mm.
But, we're not going to investigate that. But I mean, it's a reality. What if you marry somebody else and they die? Then you're going to be a widow all over again? I don't ever want to be a widow again. I know that for a fact. So
God
again,
has ways of doing various things. I have an auntie, she's close to 89, almost 90, although some of us believe she's over 90.
all
She
right.
lost her first husband and she remarried, and then she lost the second one. And I get a lot of wisdom when I sit with her, when she talks about all that. But like, what you said, she didn't even want to get pre-marry again after the first one passed because she was so much in love with him. But God's plan, so, and whatever plan God has for you, you don't know. So, and like you
That's what I
said,
say.
it's your choice. So yeah, people should
We
just
can't
let it
condemn
be.
people. We can't condemn people who
No, we
choose to
can't.
marry. Neither should we
No,
condemn those who choose to be single.
no,
It's on them.
exactly.
Whatever
And I
makes you
know,
happy.
most of the time, our men, when they lose their wives, that's why I'm saying we could go on about this topic
Six
for
weeks, 6 months, they're remarried. But when it comes to a woman, everybody's looking at you like, oh, did you have that
Yeah, and
boyfriend
if you
before
do
your
the
husband
six,
died?
yeah, and if you do the 6 months after, you're like, huh? Like exactly, did you have that person on the side? And it's like, no, no, no. For men, it's different because they can't cook, they can't do this, they can't. But
They can
anyway,
buy food.
let's
There's
not.
Uber
There's a
Eats.
lot of
There's a lot, and I know.
oh, there's a lot there. But I'm glad we're laughing, and I know Lami as well. The Lami that I knew will not want you to be unhappy. It's your happiness, at the end of the day. So whatever
Right.
you want to do, is what is the bottom line, for you. And I'm glad this journey as well as like you said, you don't want to be labeled and you don't want to carry that, banner to say, yeah, but saying that, I know God still has a plan for you in that lane because, and that's what you're doing with this documentary and the
Right.
book come as well after that, and the movie that might come after that as well.
Right.
There's so much, in there, and you'll be surprised, at how, even if it's that one documentary that you do, and like you said, you don't want to monetize it, you'll be surprised at how that could have
An
effect,
impact.
and the impact it's going to make will be beyond even what you think.
Yes.
So continue doing what you're doing. I can't
Will
wait,
do.
to hear more. You shared about how important it is as well to get support. I think that's what I want to close with,
Right.
in terms of therapy.
Yes.
Because, yeah, as Africans, or Nigerians or South Africans, we feel no, therapy, which therapy? You don't need it. But you shared about how that helped you. What other supports, system, or what other form of support would you recommend to anyone going through loss of a child, husband, although our focus is,
Right.
partner, which could be husband or
Okay. So
wife?
the other thing I went into was personal fitness. I
Mm,
realized for 2.5 years I was just sitting. I'll go to work, come back home, sit down, and just wallow in my self pity. And when I hear my kids are coming on, I turn on the TV so they don't think I'm jumping into depression. But really, I was depressed. I didn't want them to see that. It's just funny the things we do as human beings. I'll just be looking at the camera. I see their car pull up, turn on that, and put on the lights. But meanwhile, I was sitting in the dark, like, is this my life? That kind of stuff. Because it's so sudden and you're just in shock. So when I decided to follow my fitness journey, it helped me a lot. I
mm,
had a personal trainer. So because he's my personal trainer, I pay him and he wanted to do his job. He would text me in the morning, don't forget we have a class at 4:30 today. I'd be like, what's this problem? It's my money. By 3 o'clock, he's like, see you at 4:30. If he doesn't see me at 4:30, he's calling my phone. I believe there was traffic, right? We'll see each other at 5:30 then. He was always proactive. And then, I realized when I get there, I may be down, feeling miserable. I'll be so active. All the endorphins are raised. I'm doing a lot for myself. I found out my muscles were so weak. I couldn't do so much when I started, but then found out that eventually I was bouncing and bubbly. And people tell me, oh, you don't even look your age. Well, if I sat in that corner and I was miserable, I'm sure my age would have shown eventually. So now I use that as a way of supporting myself. Also, I love watching movies. So I go on my solo dates, which a lot of
mm,
people still don't understand it. Like, how can you go out by yourself? Why not? This right here is I love this one more than anybody else in the world.
mm,
I'm
mm.
taking her on a date. So I go to the movies, buy my popcorn, go to my recliner chair, enjoy myself, laugh, be in another world, and then come back to my reality. And of course, Netflix, I should get an award. I watch Netflix. I watch Netflix and Prime to the point that I think they wanted to ask for my name. Like, I do that to support myself because those are things I like. And when I'm there, I'm not thinking about me. I'm looking at other people's lives and I'm trying to, make the most of myself. Then the final one is my traveling. Kemi, you know that. I love traveling. I delved into traveling so much that I even had to ask myself, what are you running from? I wasn't running from anything. I was just
Mm.
valuing life. I was enjoying life, making the most of it. So find that one thing you love doing. What are your hobbies? Reinvent yourself. The movie, the documentary, and the things I'm doing now, I'm reinventing myself. They never left. They were talents I had. They were desires I had, but because I was being a mother, wife, working, I left them on the side. But now I'm bringing them to the forefront. So,
Awesome.
and with all of that, find what makes you happy and stick with it. Yes.
Awesome. I love that. And I'm thinking in my head, I have two friends who one, got stuck when she lost her husband as well, during COVID. And, like what you shared on, she didn't even want to go to any parties, any of her friends our husband's friends, when they have an event, although she's gradually coming out of it. And I'm
Right.
thinking, oh, okay, I need to share this, with her. And those are the people for me that I know we will need to, when we do the screening,
Right.
and for me, I'm thinking not just even widows, like you said, be prepared. If
Yeah, it's just
you
for
have a
everybody to
thing,
remember.
yeah,
It's a
for
reality.
everybody,
Right.
exactly. So it's for you to start thinking, oh, okay, oh, wow, okay, this is going to be happen. Death will happen one day or the other. And if it's going to be you first or him first or whoever first, how does that pan out? And the fact that we're not even here in we're not in Nigeria, our birth, country of birth.
Right.
What does that mean? Does it mean taking his body back home? Does it mean will people allow you? Does it mean burying the person where you are, where your children, your
Right.
grandchildren?
Right.
So we need to start having all those discussions. The will, have you done a will? Have you got a will?
And
Have
you
you,
can't talk to people about that. They get upset.
I
But
know we
if
need
you
to
don't
have.
speak, other people will speak for you. That's it.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And we need to have those tough discussions, now. So definitely let us know when you're ready so that I can book our theater for us to
Right.
show the movie here in Cape Town.
Right.
If you can come, we would love you to come. If not, we will find a way for you to join us virtually, but it will be good if you can come because
I would
that
love
will
to. I'll work
be.
on it. I'll look at my schedule, so to
Please
speak.
look at your schedule of your solo travel, solo all these
Right.
things, and
Yeah, I do.
whatever.
Yeah, I have to love myself. I mean, I'm not going to wait.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
you've really blossomed. You've
yes,
really, it's not saying you, like you said, you're in it, but you need to look after yourself. And I know that's
exactly.
what Lami would have wanted for you as
Yeah.
well.
And I
So,
know I have shocked a lot of people who thought, oh, just give her a year, she'll be remarried. That's what you thought. I know
mm,
I had a conversation with a member of a family one time. They were concerned about me having another man coming to take over our family house in Nigeria. And I said, you must not have known what I felt for your brother. If you did,
quite say that.
you would not have asked me that question. But then, like I always say, this is African magic. Keep watching. Stay tuned. And now, 4.5 years later, they're still waiting. Keep waiting, you know. But for now, like I said, be happy. Find what makes you happy. Um, there's a tendency to always use your late husband as a yardstick for any relationship. If that's what you want to
Mm,
do, yeah. And I know I'm guilty of that, and I have no regrets. I will use that because I'm not going to step down. So
mm,
it is what it is. So if you're not going to step down, why are you bothering? You might as well just enjoy your life. I'm blessed with wonderful
exactly.
kids, and I have my granddaughter now that she takes so much of my time. I'm like, oh, I thought I was bored. I'm not bored anymore. I have my beautiful girl. you know,
You
she's
can't
gonna.
be bored. You're not allowed to be bored. No.
Yes.
Thank you, Omotalani Thomas.
Thank
We
you.
see
Thank
you.
you.
We love you. We wish you
Love
all
you
the very
together.
best. And thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for just sharing, and
Thank
just
you.
being real and
All right.
uh, allowing us, to see, and through the documentary as well. We can't wait, to hear where, that will go. And I know
I
it's
will be
going
in
to go.
touch. We're looking at if we're going to come to Durban, we might as well come to Cape Town. So I'll work on it and get back to you.
So don't
Thank you,
tell me
guys.
that I'm not here because I might. So we need to look at our
I know
timetable to
you
see
need a
when I'm
year's
around.
notice. You need a year's notice just like me. So we'll work on it.
Although we don't want it to be too much of a year, but we'll get there. We'll get there.
All right.
Thank you so.
You're
So I
welcome.
want you to still in closing, please just speak out or speak up to anyone you want to speak to, just directly, not me now and you. I want you to do that.
Okay. So I just want to say directly to anybody watching now, you are valuable. You are important. Value yourself, and then other people will value you. You are the one who tells people how to treat you. So if people are treating you bad, remove yourself from that circle. You don't owe anybody anything. Life is for the living. Do not be alive and kind of be dead being alive. Meaning, live. Be grateful for each day you wake up. Be grateful for breath and use it valuably. After all, some people didn't get the chance today. So you must as well live a wonderful life. Don't forget that God loves you and always do what God wants you to do first, and everything will be added onto you to your life. Peace will come at the end of the tunnel. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, I can't wait to see as well you starting a network, a club for women to,
That would
just
be
find,
nice.
like you
We need
said,
that.
somebody, or yeah, I think, yeah,
Yeah, we need that
God
because
has big plans for you.
yeah, and I know here in the society here they have a lot of groups also, which I
Mm,
know I don't think we have that in back home,
mm, mm,
where it's
mm.
just groups that you can join, and they could say 60 and over, love traveling, and you join the
Yeah,
group, and then they say,
yeah,
oh, we're going to Japan in
yeah,
a year's time, let's plan, and then they meet up every last Saturday of the third month or something. Then you network, you meet people, and you all have like minds, and you just life becomes more interesting. The loss of a partner can be very, very overwhelming because the vacuum is so huge. You
mm,
know how close I was. It was my best friend. It was my everything. So all of a sudden, everything went quiet. And my next
mm,
best friend was my first daughter who got married. And then
mm.
I'm stuck with so much time and space. So we have to make sure that life has a value. Let's value ourselves and do something that makes us happy all the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, that's all we got for Let's Talk, talking about grief. And remember, there are opportunities for you to, not walk alone. So please, if you're grieving, and remember all what has been shared, the different stages, different journeys, and there's opportunities out there, and you've heard, do you. So whatever, loss of a child, loss of a mother, loss of a father, loss of a wife, loss of a husband, loss of a colleague, grief is grief. Um, However, yes, be prepared, to allow other people to work with you, or like she said, it could be on this side, it could be on
On
that
the other
side.
side. Yes.
Yeah. So
Thank
thank
you.
you. That's all we've got time for. God bless.
All right. God bless.